Ellie woke up early, as she always did. The sun was just peeking over the hills, casting a soft golden light across her farmland. Her small house stood alone on the edge of the colony, surrounded by acres of dry soil and struggling crops. It had been a tough year. The rains came late, and the machines kept breaking down. She wiped sweat from her brow and stepped onto her porch with a cup of weak coffee in hand. Her 7-year-old son, Max, was still asleep inside. He didn't know how hard things had become. Ellie made sure of that. She wanted him to feel safe, even if the truth was that they barely had enough to eat themselves. She was planning to work the far field that day, the one closest to the tree line. It had been untouched for months. Maybe it could still give them something. But as she walked past the barn, something caught her eye. A figure stood at the fence. Ellie froze. He wasn't human. He was tall, his skin a pale gray with a faint green tone. His body was thin, and his clothes were ragged. His long arms rested at his sides, and his large dark eyes looked straight at her. He didn't move or speak, just waited. She reached for the old rifle hanging near the door. She had never used it, but she knew how. The alien didn't flinch. Steady slowly raised both hands and stepped away from the fence. Then, in a calm, tired voice, he said, "Please, I'll work your fields. Human just. Feed my hungry children." Ellie lowered the rifle just a little. Her heart was pounding. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady. "Vorn," he said. "We come from Theras. War destroyed our home. We escaped. My children hide in the woods. We have no food. No home. I do not ask for much. I only want them to live." Ellie didn't know what to say. This was human land. Aliens were not allowed to settle without permission. But he didn't seem like a soldier. His eyes were full of sorrow, not anger.
Ow.
And when she looked closer, she saw how weak he really was. His arms were trembling just from standing still. "You could be lying," she said. "Yes," he replied, "but I am not." Ellie looked past him toward the trees. She saw no movement, but that didn't mean much. Still, she didn't sense danger, only desperation. "Do you have tools?" she asked. Vorn shook his head. "Do you know how to plant crops?" He nodded. "My kind farmed before war. I can learn your ways." Ellie hesitated. She had too much work and not enough help. The local council didn't send workers anymore. The machines were breaking, and Max needed her. Maybe letting this alien work for a day wouldn't hurt. One day, she said, "You work, you don't steal, you don't hurt anyone. At sunset, I give you food. That's all. If anything goes wrong, you leave." Vorn bowed his head. She handed him a shovel and pointed to a dry patch near the edge of her field. "Start by turning the soil." He walked to the spot, his legs weak, but his steps steady. Ellie watched him for a while, worked slowly, but carefully. He didn't stop, even when the sun rose high. She kept an eye on him while she did her chores. She didn't tell Max yet. She didn't want to scare him. Around noon, Ellie brought a small jug of water and placed it near Vorn. He looked at it like it was treasure. He drank slowly, then went back to digging. Hours passed. By evening, Ellie saw the patch he worked on. It was neat, straight, and ready for seeds. Better than she had expected, she walked to him with a bowl of soup and some bread. "Eat." She said. Vorn sat down but didn't eat right away. Instead, he looked toward the forest, let out a soft call, more like a hum. 3 small shapes appeared from the trees. They were children, alien children, 2 girls and a boy, thin, scared, and silent. Their clothes were made of stitched scraps. They ran to him and hugged him tightly. Ellie stood frozen. She hadn't expected them to come so soon. Vorn looked at her. "May I share the food?" Ellie nodded slowly. He broke the bread into small pieces and gave it to them. He gave them the soup first, before taking any for himself. They ate quietly, their eyes wide with thanks. Ellie's heart felt heavy. They were just kids. When they finished, Vorn guided them back toward the woods. "They will sleep hidden," he said. "They are quiet." They cause no trouble. Ellie didn't argue. She went back to the house. Max was awake, rubbing his eyes. "Mom, who were those people?" he asked. She paused. "Someone who needs help," she replied. That night she didn't sleep well. Her mind was full of thoughts. She had rules to follow. The colony didn't allow outsiders, but her gut told her this was different. This wasn't danger. This was a father begging for his children to survive. The next morning, Ellie stepped outside with her coffee again. The sky was cloudy, and the air smelled like dry dust. She expected the alien to be gone. Maybe the fear of being caught pushed him away. But Vorn was already working. He was in the same field, digging carefully with the same shovel. Sweat dripped down his gray skin, and his arms moved slowly, but without pause. He didn't look up when she came out. He just kept working like it was the only thing he knew. Ellie stared for a moment, then walked over to him. "You didn't run," she said. Vorn stopped digging and looked up. "You gave us a chance. I won't waste it." She nodded slowly. "I didn't say you could stay forever." "I know, one day at a time." Ellie looked at the small patch he finished the day before. The dirt was soft and even. He had already started on the second patch. It would take her 3 days to do what he had done in 1. She left him to his work and returned to the house. Max sat at the table eating a slice of toast. He looked up at her. "Is he really an alien, Mom?" "Yes," Ellie said. "But he's not here to hurt us. Will he stay?" "Only if he helps. And only if we don't get in trouble." Max looked out the window. His kids looked scared. "They are," Ellie replied. "They don't have a home." After breakfast, Ellie took some old clothes, bread, and fruit, and placed them in a small wooden crate. She carried it out too. Where Vorn was working, he stopped when he saw her coming. "For your children," she said. Vorn's eyes softened. He took the crate carefully and bowed his head. "Thank you. They will eat well today. They should eat well every day." Ellie said, "But this isn't a gift. This is payment. You earn it. That is fair." She returned to her own work, fixing the broken fence near the west side. Her hands were rough and sore, but she didn't complain. She glanced over now and then. Vorn never rested for long. He worked like the field was his last hope. At noon, she saw movement in the woods. The 3 alien children stood just behind the trees, watching. Ellie didn't go near them. She just waved. The smallest one, the boy, waved back shyly. That made her smile. By evening, Vorn had cleared 2 more rows. The ground was ready for seeds. Ellie was impressed. She handed him a can of beans and some boiled potatoes. "You're doing good work," she said. Vorn nodded. "It feels good. To build, not destroy." He fed his children again and stayed. By the fences they ate. Ellie didn't ask questions about his past, but she could tell he had seen too much pain. His eyes held stories no words could explain. The next few days followed a pattern. Vorn worked the fields. Ellie gave food. Max became braver and sometimes watched from a distance. The alien children stayed close to the woods but began to smile when they saw Ellie then. On the 4th morning, something changed. A truck drove down the dirt road toward the farm. Ellie's stomach dropped. She knew that sound. It was Hank Belden, her neighbor. He parked outside the fence and stepped out with a frown. He was a big man with a short temper and a sharp tongue. "Morning, Ellie," he said. "You've got someone working your land." She nodded slowly. "Just someone helping." "That ain't a someone. It's one of them aliens. Folks are talking. Say you've been feeding them." "He's not hurting anyone." "Rules are rules, Ellie. Outsiders need permission to be on human land. He's not here to fight. He's just trying to keep his kids alive. That's not your problem. It's dangerous." "What if others?" "Come, you know what the council says? Do you see an army, Hank?" She snapped. "Do you see weapons? He has nothing but a shovel." Hank's eyes narrowed. "You keep this up. People are going to stop helping you. Next time your plow breaks, don't expect a spare part from me." He turned and left without another word. Ellie stood there, fists clenched. She hated how quickly people judged. They didn't even ask questions. I just saw a different skin, and decided it was bad. She walked over to Vorn, who had heard everything. "Do you want us to leave?" he asked quietly. "No," she said. "But we have to be careful now. We understand. Thank you for protecting us. Just keep working. If anyone comes again, let me talk." That evening, Vorn showed Max how to stack the seed bags properly. The boy listened closely and even laughed when Vorn slipped on some grain. It was a small laugh, but it was real. The alien children came closer to the barn now. They sat by the side, drawing shapes in the dirt with sticks. They watched Ellie with curious eyes, and she began to see them not as outsiders, but as just. Children or farm started to look better. The soil was healthy again. Rows were neat, tools fixed, fences mended, but the feeling of calm didn't. Last, on the 7th day, Ellie heard the sound of boots outside her gate. 4 colony guards stood at the edge of her land. Ellie stepped out of her house, her heart racing. 4 colony guards stood at the gate, all wearing dark uniforms with bright metal badges. They held rifles, but none were pointed, yet they looked serious. Behind them, Hank Belden stood with his arms crossed and a proud smirk on his face. "Miss Ellie," said the lead guard. His voice was flat. "We receive reports of unauthorized alien activity on your land. We're here to check." Ellie didn't look away. "I know what this is about. Is there an alien worker here?" he asked directly. Ellie didn't answer. Right away, instead she turned her head toward the field. Vorn was there, standing tall. He had stopped working but hadn't run. His children weren't visible, probably hiding in the woods again, but he remained where he was, shovel in hand, yes. Ellie said finally, "His name is Vorn. He's been helping me for a week." The guards looked at each other. The lead one stepped forward. "You know the rules, miss? Aliens need clearance to live or work within colony limits. He's not a threat. He's not even being paid, just food. He asked for nothing except a chance." "Rules are not based on kindness," the guard replied. "Where are the others?" Ellie said nothing. The guard motioned to his team. "We need to check the property." "There." "Just children," Ellie shouted. "Scared children hiding in trees. They haven't harmed a soul." "Are you going to chase them down like criminals?" The guard paused. Something in her voice made him stop. Hank stepped in. "They're breaking the law. If we let one stay, more will come. We're not running a shelter for runaways." Shh. Up slowly, placing the shovel down and raising his hands. His voice was calm. "Please," he said, "do not frighten them. I will go with you if needed. But let my children be." The guards looked uneasy. They hadn't expected this. "You're giving yourself up?" one of them asked. "If that is the cost of their safety, yes." Ellie stepped forward. "He saved my crops, saved my son from an accident last week. He works harder than any man I've hired in years. If you take him away, this farm might not survive." "Then you should have gone through proper channels," the lead guard replied, though his voice had softened. "I tried," Ellie said. "But the council hasn't sent help in months. You know how things are." There was a long silence. Finally, one of the younger guards whispered, "Let's just report back. He's not hurting anyone. We don't need more enemies." The leader looked at Vorn, then at Ellie. "You're taking a big risk, miss." "I know," she said. He gave a slow nod. "We'll file a report. For now, keep him out of sight, and don't let this spread." Hank exploded. "That's it. You're walking away," as the leader said firmly. "We're not here to ruin families over dirt and rules." The guards walked off, leaving Hank fuming. He stared at Ellie one last time. "You're going to regret this." "No," she replied. "You'll regret not helping when it mattered." As the truck disappeared down the road, Ellie let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Warren looked at her quietly. "I'm sorry I brought danger. You didn't," she said. "People like Hank did." Vorn's children slowly returned from the trees. The little girl held a wooden doll Ellie had given her the day before. They looked scared but stayed close to their father. "Come inside," Ellie said. "You all need rest." Vorn shook his head. "No, we'll sleep in the barn. The barn isn't much warmer than the outside. But it's yours, and we don't want to take more than you've given." Ellie stared at him for a moment. "You're part of this farm now. You've earned more than a corner of hay." That night, Ellie cooked stew and shared it with all of them. Max sat beside the alien children, showing them pictures from a book. The smallest girl giggled when he made silly faces. Outside, the wind picked up, but inside the house, it was calm and full of quiet warmth. The next few days were peaceful. Vorn worked harder than ever, and the crops showed promise. Ellie taught him how to fix the irrigation lines, and he taught her how to use his old world's planting method, mixing crushed leaves into the soil for nutrients. Neighbors whispered, but didn't return. Word spread that the guards had checked, and left it made people unsure. Some still glared from afar, but a few gave small nods as they passed. One morning, a woman from the other side of the valley came with a broken hoe. She didn't speak of Vorn, just asked if Ellie had tools to lend. They worked together silently, and when she left, she smiled at Vorn's children. Small things changed. And then, something bigger happened. A letter came from the council. Ellie opened it on the porch, her hands shaking. The message was short. Inspection scheduled, for days. Prepare documentation and explanation. She showed Vorn the paper. "They're coming," she said, "and I don't know if they'll be kind." Vorn said nothing. Then he looked at his children. "We'll go, before they arrive." "No," Ellie said quickly. "We won't hide anymore." Vorn looked surprised. "You said one day at a time," she reminded him. "Today we fight for the right to stay." The wind was quiet the next morning, but the air felt heavy. Ellie stood by the barn door, reading the council's letter again. For days. That was all the time they had before officials would arrive to inspect her land, ask questions, and decide. What would happen next? Vorn worked nearby, tending to the small sprouts that had started to appear in the soil. He had a gentle way with the plants, like he respected each one. His children played near the corner of the barn, using sticks and stones to build pretend farms of their own. "Vorn," Ellie called softly. He stood and wiped his hands on his worn pants. "We need to prepare," she said. "The council will come, and we'll have to explain everything." "Will they listen?" he asked. "I don't know," she replied. "But we'll speak the truth, and we'll show them what you've done here." Vorn nodded. "Then let's begin." The next 3 days were full of work. Ellie and Vorn repaired broken fences, cleaned the tool shed, and gathered records of the crops. Ellie even found the old colony permit that proved she owned the land fairly. Max helped where he could, carrying buckets and writing signs with neat, bold letters. They prepared a clear space near the barn where the council members could sit. Ellie cooked extra food just in case. She wasn't sure why, but she wanted to show hospitality, even to people who might want to take Vorn away. Each evening, Ellie and Vorn talked under the stars. They spoke of their pasts, their homes, and their dreams. Vorn told her about Theris's planet before it fell into war. He had been a teacher once. His wife had died during the escape, and he had promised her he'd keep their children safe. Ellie shared her own story. How her husband had died in a factory fire years ago. How she came to this lonely farm to start over. How Max was all she had left, and how the soil had been her only hope. In those quiet moments, they didn't feel like two different species. They just felt like people. On the 4th day, the sun rose behind thick clouds. By noon, a sleek silver transport hovered over the road and landed near the gate. Dust swirled around it. The door opened, and 4 figures stepped out, dressed in long black coats with the colony's symbol on their shoulders. The lead inspector was a tall woman with short white hair and a narrow face. She walked with purpose, eyes scanning everything. "Ellie Brooks?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am. I am Inspector Vale. This is an official review of your property under Colony Law Section 12. We have been informed of an undocumented alien presence. We will now investigate." Ellie stayed calm. "You're welcome to look. But please, listen to." The inspectors walked the field. They saw the rows of crops, the repaired irrigation, and the organized tools. Vale knelt down and touched the soil. This land was nearly dead 6 months ago, she said. "Yes," Ellie replied. "But it's alive now. Because of him," She pointed to Vorn, who stood a few feet away. He didn't speak. His children stayed near the barn, watching with wide eyes. Vale walked up to Vorn. State your name. Vorn of Theris. Do you know you are on human land without permission? I do, but I asked to stay and I worked. Are you armed? No, ma'am. Vale turned to her team. Any sign of threat? None, one inspector said. Any sign of spreading illness, radiation, or tampering?
Oh, I see.
Nothing unusual, another replied. Vale faced Ellie again.
Yeah.
Well, want to rewind later. I want to back on a well. I want to wait to one. I want to whenever one out.
But the law isn't built for kindness. Look around you. His farm was falling apart. No one helped. Not the council. Not the colony. Only Vorn. Vale raised an eyebrow. You expect the council to rewrite rules because you made a friend? I expect the council to see with their own eyes, Ellie said boldly. He saved this land. He saved my son from a falling beam. He saved 3 children from starvation. And he didn't ask for anything but food. Vale looked at Vorn again. And your children? They are mine by blood, Vorn said. They hurt no one. They only want to live. The youngest child, a girl, stepped forward and held out a flower she had picked. Her small hand trembled. She walked to Inspector Vale and placed it in her hand without a word. Vale looked down at the flower. The silence hung for a long time. Finally, she sighed. You've made this difficult. Ellie stayed quiet, heart pounding. Vale turned to her. Team, prepare a temporary stay permit. 28 days. Limited to this property. Full review later. Ellie blinked. Wait. He can stay. For now, Vale said. We'll return for further evaluation. Don't leave the property. Boundaries. If any harm comes to the colony, you will be held responsible. Ellie nodded, her chest tight with relief. Thank you, she said. Vale stepped close. This isn't mercy. It's a test. Make it worth it. The council team left soon after. Vorn stood still, unsure. We did it, Ellie whispered. Vorn looked at his children, then at Ellie. You gave us a future. She said, you earned it. They stood together in the evening light, the wind brushing gently over the new sprouts in the soil. The days that followed felt lighter, even though the sky stayed cloudy. Ellie worked the fields beside Vorn, both of them moving through rows of green that had once been dry and hopeless. The crops had started growing faster, fuller. The soil had changed, and so had the people working it. The temporary permit from the council gave them 28 days. It wasn't much time. But to Vorn and his children, it was a chance to breathe, to sleep without fear, to live like they belonged, even if only for a while. Max no longer watched the alien children from a distance. He now ran with them, played hide-and-seek near the barn, and shared books and stories from his room. The alien kids learned fast. They laughed more now, and their small hands helped pull weeds or carry water buckets. It was like they had always been part of the farm, but outside the fence, things were not calm. Some neighbors gave silent nods. As they passed, others looked away. And some still frowned, whispering when they saw the alien family working the land. Word had spread. A few even warned Ellie quietly. They'll come back, you know, one woman said. The ones who don't like change. I'm ready, Ellie replied. This farm is ours, no matter what they say. But she wasn't fully ready, one night. After dinner, Ellie heard something strange. A low crack, then a soft hiss. She ran to the field and saw smoke. Not from the house, but from the west edge of the crops. Fire. Double quotes VOR. She shouted. He was already running with a bucket. The fire. Lion, it's too close to the wheat. They moved fast. Ellie grabbed water buckets. Vorn used a wide shovel to beat back the flames. His children helped form a line, handing tools and water. Max joined too, hauling a jug nearly as big as him. The fire wasn't huge, but the wind made it dangerous. Dry grass caught quickly. It crawled toward the barn, hissing like a wild thing. Vorn acted fast. Dig a trench. Stop it from jumping. Ellie followed his lead, digging along the dry grass. Vorn cleared a path, and they poured water to slow the flames. Their hands burned, their arms shook, but they didn't stop. After an hour, the fire was out. Ellie dropped to the ground, breathing hard. Her shirt was soaked in sweat, and her palms were raw. Vorn sat nearby, coughing, his skin darkened with ash. Was it lightning? Ellie asked. Vorn looked at the burn marks near the fence. No, this was set. Someone started it. Ellie's chest tightened. They tried to burn us out. Vorn stayed silent. They didn't call the guards. They knew the truth wouldn't matter. No one had sent a message, one written in smoke and flame. But the message didn't break them. It made them stronger the next day. Ellie went into town. She stood in the supply store, dirt still on her hands, and asked for more fire tools, more buckets, and better fencing. A few people stared. One man whispered to his friend. But she didn't care. She walked out with what she needed. On the farm, she and Vorn worked harder. They built stronger barriers around the field. Vorn taught Max how to watch the wind and smell the air for smoke. The children helped reinforce the barn's walls. They want us scared, Ellie said one night, sitting with Vorn on the porch, but they don't understand something. What is that? He asked. We're not weak. Not anymore. Vorn gave a tired smile. You're braver than most humans I've met. I'm just tired of losing, she said. And you gave me something to fight for. The days that followed, things shifted. 2 neighbors came by with old tools they didn't use anymore. One offered spare seeds. No one mentioned the fire, but their eyes said they knew. They were choosing sides quietly, but clearly. The crops continued to grow. Green rows stretched across the field. The farm began to look like it once did, alive, proud, full of work and promise. Then, a letter came again. This time, the message. It was simple. Final review scheduled. 7 days. Prepare testimony. Ellie held the paper in her hand, standing in the middle of her field. Wind moved through the wheat like waves. They're coming back, she said softly. Vorn walked up beside her. Then we'll show them what we've built. If they still say no, Vorn looked toward his children. Then we leave. Again, not if I can help it, Ellie replied. They had 1 week to prove their place. 1 week to show that. Family, hard work, and kindness were stronger than fear. That night, under a sky full of stars, Ellie stood at the edge of her porch. The alien children slept inside, safe and full. Max was curled up next to them. Vorn sat nearby, his eyes watching the sky. Do you miss your home? She asked. Every day, he said. But this place is starting to feel like one. Ellie nodded. Then let's make sure you get to stay. The final day came with a quiet sky. No wind, no clouds, just a strange stillness in the air, as if the land itself was waiting. Ellie woke early, nerves making her chest tight. She stepped outside with her hands trembling. Everything on the farm looked ready. The fields were clean, the rows of crops full and green. The barn had been repaired, the tools lined up, the yard swept. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. Vorn stood near the gate. He had cleaned himself and wore a plain shirt Ellie had given him. His children stayed near the house with Max. They were told to stay calm, stay quiet, and only come out if asked. Ellie? And Vorn exchanged a nod. They didn't need words. At noon, the Silver Council transport returned. It landed at the same spot, its engines making the ground hum. Inspector Vale stepped out again with her team. She looked around, sharp eyes taking in every detail. Miss Brooks, Vorn, she said. We're ready, Ellie replied. Vale didn't Smile. We're here to finalize the review. Speak clearly. Keep emotions out of it. Ellie took a deep breath. We've prepared documents, growth records, repair logs, daily work notes. They show Vorn's contributions. Vale took the papers, passed them to one of her team. Walk us through the property, she said. Ellie and Vorn led them through the field. They showed the irrigation lines, the rows of growing vegetables, the tools that had been fixed. Vorn explained how he mixed natural materials into the soil. He spoke simply, clearly, without pride or fear. This land was dry and dying, Ellie said. Now it's alive. Because we worked together. They walked to the barn. Inside, the shelves were stocked with early harvests. Baskets of beans. Carrots and corn sat neatly in rows. Max had drawn signs for each one, with smiling faces and little stars. Vale paused. You built this much in just weeks? Yes, Ellie said. And we're just getting started? And the children? Vorn nodded. They help with small tasks. They are learning. They are peaceful. Vale motioned for them to be brought out. The children came slowly, standing beside Max. Their clothes were clean. Their hands held small bundles, fruits, flowers, and a loaf of bread they helped bake. They walked up to the inspectors and placed the gifts gently on a cloth. The smallest one said in a soft voice, "Thank you for letting us stay." One of the inspectors, a quiet man with gray eyes, knelt and picked up the bread. He took a bite, then looked at Vale. "Now this is good." For the first time, Vale's face softened. "Miss Brooks," she said, "you've broken rules. Bias. But you've also shown responsibility, order, and progress." Ellie waited, heart thumping. "And you," Vale said, turning to Vorn, "you came here without permission, but you caused no harm, and you worked with honesty. This colony has seen trouble before, but it also needs stories like this." She paused, looking around once more. "Effective today," she continued. "Vorn and his family are granted conditional resident status. Limited to this land, they may not travel without clearance, but they may stay." Ellie blinked. "Wait, you're serious?" "This is not charity," Vale said. "This is earned. Not wasted." Vorn's eyes closed for a moment. Then he looked at his children. "Thank you," he whispered. The children hugged each other. Max cheered. Ellie smiled for the first time in days. "You won't regret this." "I hope not," Vale replied. "We'll check in again. Do not give us reason to return early." The council team packed up and left. The silver transport lifted into the sky and disappeared into the clouds. For a long time, no one spoke. They just stood in the field, the sun warming their faces. Then Vorn's youngest ran up and grabbed Ellie's hand. "We have a home now?" Bent down and nodded. "Yes, and we'll take care of it together." Vorn looked at her. "You changed our lives." Ellie shook her head. "No, you changed mine first." That night, they held a small celebration. They cooked stew over a fire. Max played music on an old speaker. Their children danced around the barn. Ellie laughed for the first time in weeks. And Vorn, once a stranger at her fence, now sat beside her as something like family. Under the stars, Vorn looked at the rows of crops. "When I first came here, I thought I had nothing left," he said. "But I found something. Greater than food or land, I found hope." Ellie smiled, watching the kids play. "You gave me that too." On the edge of the farm, near the gate where Vorn first stood, Max placed a wooden sign in the dirt. He had painted it himself, in careful, uneven letters. It read, he said, "I'll work your fields. Human, just feed my hungry children." And now, they all did together.